working with Ms. Fox's class and trying to figure out how to get to 5th grade because I don't think my 1st and 2nd grade babies are quite ready to do block coding. And so even though they come in, we appreciate the resource because it allows us to move down, especially now since we're one school. So, can you turn to the next one? Okay.
All right, and this is just Brian.
So, this is also a PBL project that we included the grade school with. This is 8th grade, and our study sync unit was Everyone Loves a Mystery. And so their task was to create a mystery-loving literacy club. And they researched like the books, and I mean they had certain tasks in mind, like make it grade appropriate for 4th grade and 3rd grade. That's the grades they worked with in the elementary school. And this was really, I feel like this was really successful because the older kids got to go back and see like their teachers from when they were younger and be back in the elementary. But they also went as like model readers. Like, you know, as they start to get older in elementary, they start reading a little less sometimes. And so when they saw that these older kids are, you know, still passionate about reading and things, it was very positive. And so, like I said, this was like a PBL. They worked on this for like a week. They actually, we made a video in Canva and emailed it to the elementary to show before we got there. And they had added like the elements of like spooky music and things like that. So it was a good way to tie in literacy with those multimedia platforms as well. So.
My daughter was in Miss Ryan's class and she was like, Mom, those kids will not listen to you sometimes. And I was like, yeah, I have no idea. So we actually just did this week, and it was called Who Touched Our Button. It was, like we talked about, we're trying to get push down. Like we have this great opportunity where we're all one school, and my thing is that there are things that I did not know until I taught them, okay? Like I did not understand hydrolysis until I had to teach hydrolysis to 10th graders. I'm just going to be honest with you. And so this was fingerprinting, and I know you're like, what does fingerprinting have to do? Well, in my class, we purchased a read aloud book. It was called Who Touched My Button? And it's this monster, and he takes you through it, and he has this button, and every time he touches this magical button, it like turns the monster into something. And so I had this big football player of a boy up here reading this book today going, should we touch the button? And then he'd hit the button, and the kids are all. And then we talked about, so I did this with my princess class, we fingerprinted and pulled Latin prints off of all these buttons. And so we had these high school kids in here doing the read aloud, working with the kids, pulling the forensics prints off, and then we've set it up where it's like a compare and contrast activity. So they have the hand lenses, I was going to call magnifying glasses out, and it's a lot of fun. And what we're hoping is that even though it has like an element, but when you talk to some of the, especially the lower, like K2 teachers, they say sometimes we just don't have. We are teaching kids to read, and I get that. Like that. Thank you for teaching kids to read. And so they were like, if you want to come over and help us with that, and then we can do roll-off stuff. So it just helps generate ideas, and they had a lot of fun today. They were pretty impressed. And then it makes the big kids feel good too, because they're like, oh, look, we're doing good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so something else that we're trying to focus on is our attendance. And I check our attendance today at the end of the day, and the attendance is 94.9%. I hope we can keep it at that percentage. I would like to raise it a little bit. That's something that we're doing with the meaningful contact form. The requirement is that once a student has missed 3 consecutive days, that the secretary, teacher, principal, whomever, counselor will give a phone call to check on the student. But lots of times we check if it's like 1 day or 2 days, because we are a small community. So if we hear something's going on with someone, we just give them a quick phone call And I really do believe that makes a difference. Also, we have implemented the attendance incentive program. And now let me tell you, parents take these attendance incentives very seriously. And so anyway, we have to be, we just have to make certain that our data is correct. And I've had lots of phone calls over attendance incentives with parents. So that our first incentive went off without a hitch. I think all the students enjoyed it. And then some of the students that did make their first one came to me, especially the smaller ones, and said that they were going to try very hard to meet the second attendance incentive. Okay, something that I wanted to start this year sort of goes with climate culture, but it's also working with our parents to just reiterate how important education is. And here in our area, you know, we are a lower socioeconomic area, and so we're constantly thinking, you know, are there ways that we can break the cycle of some of our students? That's always in the back of our mind. So I started coffee with the principal, and I've had one meeting so far. I believe we had 8 parents present, which is not a huge number, but hopefully we'll have more at the second one. And so with this meeting, what we focused on, Ms. Jordan and Ms. Brown helped me, was strategies to help students with their homework, which is very much elementary here. And so we went over strategies to help kids with homework. And then, is it bullying or is it not bullying? Oh my gosh, everything is bullying. So we've got to teach these students and parents what bullying truly is.
Amen.
And then so this is a flow chart that Ms. Jordan found. And it tells you exactly what to do. Like right here is, you know, is it repeated? Does it happen frequently? You follow this flow chart. Is it the first time? It's only happened once. You follow this flow chart. So we went over that with students, or I'm sorry, with the parents, and they seemed very receptive. And so we did a little survey to ask what they would like at the next principal coffee. And they had a few requests, but they also requested to try to do conflict resolution between parent and child. So anyway, we're going to be working on that to try to help these parents, if they do have conflicts with their children, how to resolve them in a more appropriate manner. All right, teacher tailgate. So this is something else that we're doing to try to reach out to the community. Before school started in August, we had a meeting. Since we are now a Title I school, it was a Title I meeting, and I talked to our group, and I said, this is my idea. I would like for us to be able to reach out to parents in a better way than what we're doing. And so anyway, Lana and Ashley came up with this idea, and they are doing our teacher tailgate. Now, they are the ones that are responsible for the information, and then we have other teachers that are coming to join them at our football games. So you guys don't have to come up here, but if you want to say anything about the teacher tailgate, go right ahead.
I think the big thing is I think when we first started on that, we're setting ourselves up for parents to come and complain to us while we're at our kids' ball games. But it has been nothing but positive. So we always, like Lana and I get there super early, and we always have like glow sticks and suckers and just little things the kids can come by. And the parents will come by and they talk to us. We're doing a survey this Friday. They take our newsletter, take our literature, and on the back of our newsletters, we usually do something like an anti-vaping campaign or something that's like attendance or something that's a hot topic. Then they get in a drawing for a hoodie, and so then we give them a Wildcat hoodie. And the teachers just come and we all hang out, and parents just come up, and alumni have come up and talked to us about it, and like it's just allowed us to have casual conversations. And just get to brag on kids sometimes. We're like, oh, you're so-and-so's mom, I love him. You know what I mean? So it's been good.
Excellent.
Right, and this is at our football games. So over here, we've got the Wildcat Proud newsletter. We're trying to do that pride theme and anything that we can think of. And so like our new exam grading policy was posted on that newsletter to try to make our parents aware of the changes. We did our lockdown drill, active shooter drill, so we're talking about practice drills. Just a lot of good information. And here is another picture of our lovely teachers at the tailgate. And then this parent survey that we got from on last Friday, our PL day, we had the Fayette County Coalition came and they did a gallery walk with all the teachers on our ICE survey, on our ICE data, which is always eye-opening, but I was very happy to say that some of the things that I was disheartened before on our survey, like the students here felt like adults cared about them, I was really bothered by that number. It had increased tremendously. And so I think that one thing, we've worked very hard on that, but I also think that this teacher tailgate idea that they came up with is great to let parents know and the kids know, hey, they're here, they're talking about us, they're bragging on us, and they do care about us. So that number had increased very much. I was so happy about that. We also have this parent survey because an idea that came up during our gallery walk was with students, we asked our high school students, when your child is out of the house outside of school hours, do you know where they are? Okay, well the question to the student was, do your parents know where you are? And so what we did with Diane Callison, we flipped it all around to be like, does the parent know where their child is? So at our homecoming game this Friday, this is going to be the parent survey that parents are going to take, and it's just to make them think, do I really know the parents of the child that my kid's hanging out with?
Because our numbers were like below 50, like 33% of our kids were saying that their parents knew where they were at and stuff. And we were like, we're small, but we're not small enough where that's allowed. You know what I mean? So we just wanted the parents to think. Then we thought we could get the data too and show the kids. Some of them would be like, well, listen, some of you all don't know your parents very well because your dad is a little if the numbers are really off. But
So, and then also Diane she pitched in and she was going to help because the LSIC is the one that funds the drawing for the hoodie. And so Diane said that she would help for this week, and we're going to do the drawing, and she donated the money for that, for the hoodie. Okay, now I get really excited about this. And this is teacher peer observations and our SMORE newsletter. And so something that I've really tried to stress, and because, gosh, when I walk into classrooms, there is some really, really good teaching that's going on. And I think that should be shared. I don't think that teachers just need to stay in their classroom and just keep all those great strategies just to themselves. We need to share so we can grow and become stronger. So to promote teacher talks, academic achievement, climate and culture, this is something that, two things that we've worked on. I don't know why it does this. It goes to extend, and I have to just look at it. It goes to extend. Okay. So Brittany, our specialist, she does a weekly SMORE newsletter to our teachers.
Excuse me.
So this is this week's newsletter, and she sends it out every Monday. So she has the schedule. She just has lots of great information in here, upcoming events. She does a quote of the week. Low expectations? No, we have to have high expectations. And so with the logic model, with the work that we do with Dr. Edwards, we're like, how can we get that out to our teachers? So at the principal meeting, we came up with the idea that she's going to start putting the logic model in the SMORE weekly newsletter now. So the short-term goals and the mid-term goals, the yellow are in progress, the teal we've already completed, the red we haven't started yet, so we've been very busy this year. So these are all the things when we go down through this logic model, which is our guide to our strategic plan. Here's September to October goals, things that we have done. And then what she is doing, she's sharing our logic model, and then from that, then she's finding data to support part of our logic model. And this week the focus is on learning targets, because when I walk into the classroom to talk to students, I like to be able to go up to the student and tell me, say, what's your objective for this lesson? What's your learning target? Tell me what you're doing. I don't want to hear that they're doing a task, that they're writing an essay. I want to know when you're writing that essay and your focus is on what? Is your focus on, I don't know, English teachers give me a focus. for an essay. Main idea. Okay, so is your focus on main idea? What is your focus? So it's just not, I'm writing an essay. That's just something they're doing. What is the learning target of it? So then she finds data to support that, and then she does, I love what she calls it, a bite-sized PD. And she just finds a YouTube video clip like this one is 3 minutes and 58 seconds on the importance of learning and learning. And then she puts that in the newsletter. And so she's doing that, which is great. I love that idea. And that is shared to all of our teachers. So that's one thing. But then that leads us to, let me go back. Okay, now. All right. Now, here is Schoology. They laugh at my technology skills.
We weren't, Miss White.
You were?
No.
Okay.
I'm pretty impressed, you're doing good.
So, I started a couple years ago, grew with it last year, and we're working on it this year. So, I started this class, the PD in Schoology, and this is all about the sharing out. And so this is September's, like every teacher has this course in their Schoology site. And so teachers, this is for September, so teachers, they will go sign up, and it's like, tell me a strategy that you would like other teachers to come watch. And then they'll sign up to be observed, and then other teachers sign up to go observe that strategy. So this is our month of September that we had right here. So we had a lot of teacher sharing going on. So they sign up, and I like to look at this because I like to go do some of my walkthroughs on these days as well. They'll sign up, and then what they do, once they've done the observation, then they'll go, it's just like a college class, they'll go to a debrief, and then they talk about what they observed, the lesson they observed, and they comment, and they talk about the strategy, and what did they see that was good during that observation.
Is that Miss Ryan there? No, she's not there.
Which one? Oh, no.
I shared that, Neil. I shared that in our culture and climate meeting. Pat does.
Oh, no, that's Miss Miller's.
Yeah, this is the
Close.
mom.
Mom.
So, yes, this is Miss Miller's observation of Lonnie Martin, and I also observed that one, so I added mine and what I thought. So the teachers, then they go and they just will comment about the observation, what they think they can use in their classroom, how they might change it to fit their curriculum or fit their grade level, and I learned a lot of things like this, and I'm hoping that the teachers feel like it's successful. That if they don't, they haven't told me. So I really like this. All right. Okay, and then this is kind of student climate and culture, but it's also for parents. So I have to put Officer Mike in here. This is a pep rally. The kids they love them both, but they really enjoy Mike Fridley. He really has made a great connection with the students. And so much so that we had a pep rally and the cheerleaders asked him if he would participate. So he had to run around the gym holding the sign that says cheer or go to jail. And so anyway, they had a great time with that, and he really loved it. This is elementary, just an example of Red Ribbon Week that is going to be coming up, and the students get to dress up. Lana had some very creative ideas. This was our back to school open house flyer that we shared. We have our homecoming dance this Saturday coming up. We're actually doing 2 dances on Saturday, a middle school and a high school dance at 2 different times. And so that's kind of like what we're doing for academics and climate and culture. It's just an overview of that. And now we've got the mental health wraparound challenges, so we will let Ms. Jervin come up and speak about those.
All right, so some of our challenges are pretty much across any school that you go to in our area. Transportation, getting to those therapy appointments or seeing a psychiatrist. Financial or no health insurance. Awareness of services. There are a lot of students here, parents here that aren't aware of the services that we do offer through Meadow Medical Center. And then actually, seeing me, the school counselor here as well. So I've made an effort to increase that awareness by doing like coffee with the principal, open house stuff. Cultural stigma, trust, parental involvement, follow through. The follow through is a pretty big issue. I mean, even though we've got some things that are local, like the Meadow Medical Center, not, parents just like 1 or 2 counseling sessions and then their kid is okay and they don't need it anymore. Statewide lack of trained mental health professionals. We've all heard, especially in West Virginia, we don't have enough personnel to cover everybody that is having these challenges. Lack of school staff understanding, awareness, which I'm working on with the teachers to try to give them behavioral strategies for their students. And then overall volume of student behavioral health needs seems to have increased significantly, especially since COVID. Okay. Here we have myself, the school counselor. I'm certified also in violence, loss, and trauma. We have Miss Carrie Gerald. She's the behavioral therapist at Meadow Medical Center. She is also trained in cognitive behavioral therapy with a trauma focus. And try to do staff and faculty professional development, PLC. But we also had, over the summer, we had Ms. Atkins, Ms. White, Mr. Wood, and Ms. Gerald go to the conference, I can't see the name of it. Adolescent Health Summer Institute. And actually, if you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about what we run there.
So, we got this flyer and it just offered 3 days of different just mental health classes and just things that kids might need. And it was in June at Pipeston, so we all just kind of basically were like, okay, if you take this one, I'll take that one, and then we'll report back to each other so we can get everybody has a little something. So we got to do some pretty cool things. Mr. Wood got trained in Gen RX, which is teaching grandparents about how to deal with prescription drugs and keeping them safe from kids because, opiates start usually with elder family members just not knowing they have the prescription in the house. And then I got trained on Catch Your Breath, which is an anti-vaping program, and I'm actually 3/4 of the way through it with my 10th graders right now, doing it during AA, and then we have somebody coming in from the Tobacco Coalition with Fayette County Schools and doing it with all of our health students, 7 through 9. It has been a wonderful, the best free resource probably that I've came across in a long time. It talks about just all of these misunderstandings and how they're targeting kids, and the kids are like, they're using me for money, and I was like, oh, they sure actually they're using your parents through you, but whatever. It's been really great. The 10th graders have been super receptive to it. We also did Spark. Ms. White did Spark, which was just how to engage your community and your students who are in low socioeconomic backgrounds. And then I also got my mental health, youth mental health certification, which is basically identifying a student who's having a mental health crisis and then directing them to the resources and helping. Because right now, it's, the student is between both buildings and, Carrie's not always here and stuff. And so it's just something easy. It's just a quick toolbox to be able to pull from sometimes if we need it. Also, it just seems like that way, if kids like to come to the teacher they trust and not always like the guidance counselor or that. So that's an easy way for me, if someone comes to me and is like, hey, I have this kid who's coming up, and I'll be like, oh, well, here's what we need to do. So it's just an added resource. So it was a really good conference. They did a good job with it.
And then additionally, PLC meetings on school safety. On PL days, we address behavioral and mental health strategies, which definitely can add in what Ms. Atkins was going. So what are we doing? We are doing the Old Base program. We are continuing that. This is our 2nd year. We're also doing more character education, developmental guidance. I've been doing a lot more at the elementary school. I just finished up a bullying lesson with the 4th graders last week, and I was pleasantly surprised about how much they have learned from the Olveas program last year. It seems that they can identify what bullying is probably more so than our parents. So I was really happy about that. So some other lessons I'll be doing: making good choices, empathy, managing anxiety, bullying. I'm still going to hammer in on that, especially this month. It's National Bullying Prevention Month, so I'm going to be working with the middle schoolers throughout the month. Respect, friendship, and conflict resolution lessons will be going on at the elementary side and here at the high school as well. Also participated with the Coffee with the Principal with Ms. White, like she had mentioned earlier. And we also have our Girls Supporting Girls program that Ms. Atkins runs, which is very helpful. Small group conflict resolution mediation groups, I'm going to start doing that as well. Mainly just focusing on friendship, rumors, gossip, that sort of thing. And like Ms. Atkins says, we have our guest speakers on, the vaping, but we'll also have like FMRS come in for our suicide prevention. And I'm going to make a concerted effort to put more on, to put on social medias and our school website. It needs some updating about just some resources for both students and parents. And then this year, across the county, we're putting out parentguidance.org, which we're promoting that and just going through it as a parent myself. It's absolutely wonderful. You can talk with a therapist, you can have a coach, you go through lessons, and all of this is to help your child. And there are just so many topics to choose from. And if you have a question and there's not the topic isn't on there, then you have that coach or that therapist you can reach out to.
And so, but one of the major challenges that I did want to bring up, and it's just with our construction and with Raynell Medical Center, because we've talked about attendance and we've talked about mental health, and of course now Carrie Gerald is still here weekly, but it's something that Mr. Hogue and I had discussed as well. With the new construction going on, we do not have a provider, a health provider that is here. Like they used to be here 3 or 4 days a week. Now they're here twice a month, and so when they're here, they schedule appointments. So like if we do have a student that becomes ill throughout the school day or needs an antibiotic or something like that, we don't have a healthcare provider to send that student to. And parents, especially grandparents, liked that service. And I'm hoping that our attendance does not go down because we do not have that to give to the students. But now, it's not to say that we won't get that back, but Raynell Medical Center did decrease the amount of time that they were spending with us from 3 to 4 days a week to 2 days a month. And so that is a concern. It's something that was great for our students that now we're not able to offer them. And with that, I do believe that our presentation is complete.
All right, well, thank you. A lot of great stuff. So let me start with Ms. Whitlock and see what the board members, what questions they might have.
I guess the first thing that kind of comes to mind is how many times you all said you were successful because. Thank you. And so many times over the last few years, when we sit in a situation like this, we did 150 home visits, we did 20 more kids did this. It was successful because tells you how important data is to what you're doing overall. And a lot of times, like you said, it changes your mind about, oh, wait a minute, that's not what we thought it was, and that's important. I think the idea of letting kids set a goal and then having another goal, what I could compare it to in my head is like, okay, if you go into sales and you get a commission, if you've ever done that, the minute you make the commission, they up the goal. this way, the student is ready for the next step without feeling like they've been used. I don't know what a better word is, but you know what I'm saying. They get here and they go, oh, you gotta go here and you gotta go here. But if they set that and they know where they're going next, I think that's so much more fair than the way we've done it over the years. Although when you say SWAT and you say compare and contrast, it hits me right here from all the years in school and continually. I don't know how many meetings I've been to. I could count on one hand how many meetings I've been to that you don't use SWOT analysis. I mean, that is the key component to figuring out, digging where you need to dig and continuing to follow the path that you've done. The idea that a student figured out that they had test anxiety instead of somebody telling them that they did, what a game changer that is. That's a huge game changer. You know, because it's not always evident to you. It wasn't evident to me with my daughter, but I'd see her, she'd start here and she'd go here and then she'd get to this one, couldn't do it, she'd shut down. She didn't know that she could keep going. You know, those kinds of things, when they learn them on their own and you guide them to what to do about it. Okay, you get to one you didn't know, circle it and go to the next one. You know, when you get done, you may only have 2 circles, and that's a whole lot different than thinking you can't do any more after that point. It's like it builds a wall to them, and I think the way that them figuring it out themselves, the idea that you write in math class, extraordinary. You know, across curriculum is so important, and it's so important even though you don't think you need it, to be able to write your thoughts, either mentally for your mental health or to express yourself verbally, to be able to write in some kind of an order, regardless of what your field is, and math and science especially. The idea that, you know, you've got older kids teaching younger kids the importance of reading instead of their parents telling them how important reading is, and then they're sitting on their phone. You know, you've got kids actually modeling for other kids, and I think that's a huge thing. The tailgate idea, the principal coffee, you know, I've often thought about capturing them somehow you ought to capture parents in the drop-off lane while they're sitting there, you know, but you've come up with an angle to get to people, you know, carry strung, meet them where they're at, you know, if they're in their car, if they're at a ball game, that's where you bring the information and you bring your fabulous staff and you're meeting them where they're at instead of saying, okay, be at the school at 3:30, we're going to do this or that. It doesn't work. And I think, you know, like I said, the thing I really circled was it was successful because every one of you said that, and I think that is a whole culture and climate, but it's directly connected to the success you've been having with discovery and then using those discoveries to teach and to learn. I think that's very impressive. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Whitlock. Mr. Groom?
I really like the iReady thing that you all are doing, and as I listened to it, I was very impressed with how you all are using it, but I did want to ask a couple questions. Do you see this program as being helpful or beneficial to you and your students?
I feel that it is. Already does a great job of breaking down what students really need help with. Like, if you look on the vocabulary part, you can click on it and it will tell you specifically, like, prefixes, Latin roots, things like that. So as a teacher, that's like what I start looking at. Okay, they understand this, but they don't understand this, and then we just focus on that during content.
Okay.
It also tells us, you know, like when we were in school, it was just comprehension. Well, for students now, it's informative or literature. And so it tells us specifically what type they're weak in. If they are struggling with informational text, it'll tell us whether it's science or social studies sometimes.
Yeah,
and so we
great.
can pull more text and implement that during class. So I find it to be a very useful tool. There is a learning curve it's almost like you have to play a bit, but we're being trained in it, and so we're learning different things, but it's almost like you have to get in there and just click, just think. But there is a lot of little hidden gems in there.
Okay. And I'm just listening to you and what you're saying. I think it would be safe if I were to say that this diagnostics that you're getting from this program is finding its way into your lesson plans or into your group work.
Well, I teach science, but I teach math. During 30 minutes a day, I have to become a math teacher. I mean, I get to become a math teacher. And so I don't use iReady in my class directly, but I get the diagnostics for my kids. And so they're easy enough for me, not being a math person, to look and be like, oh, I have ninth graders, so I get the ALEC data, but the iReady data is easy too, because we'll sit there and we kind of like brainstorm together. But it's easy enough for like Mr. Roberts and I to sit there and be like, oh, okay, we need to track quadratics again, and then I can go back and watch a couple videos and teach quadratics for a little bit. But it's very user friendly. Like, it's not something that you have to specialize in that content to understand, which is nice, because sometimes, you know, you get a resource and it's like, I have to take it to the math teacher to interpret the diagnostic for me before I know how to use the diagnostic. So
It also has where you can, this is my first year in high school, I've always called elementary, but it had where you can actually pair your students up for like buddy reading or whatever based on their strengths and weaknesses. So they may not be like a high-low student.
Right, now you're talking about strategies. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great, that's great.
It's really neat to pair some kids that have more similarities than gaps. And so they help each other, but then it may pair them the opposite way, like you have a high reader and a low reader. So it's constantly, based on those diagnostics, it's constantly changing this grouping, which is what small groups should do. They should go out or come in when they need it.
One component that I like too is the standards mastering that they have, because if I'm starting a new module in math, I can go directly to the standards that we're covering, and we can do pre-test and post-test status, so we don't have to wait for the next diagnostic. I can see if they've mastered this standard based on my instruction. And then before my next standard that I teach them, I give them a pre-test, a short snippet of 4 or 5 questions. They take the pre-test, we do the actual instruction and the independent practice, and then about a week later, then they'll take the post-test, and they can see themselves that they've improved.
Great. Just to go back to something Cindy said, writing across curriculum. You know, I think that's very important, especially with math. Because in one of the reports that I read, that one of the weakest points in our students in West Virginia are word problems. So if you guys are doing that's wonderful, because it'll help our students. They struggle with word problems. I know sometimes when I sit down with my daughter, the word problems cause her fits.
Yeah.
And I've tried to show her how you can break it down in increments until you can get to where you need to get to. Great job. One comment. I was sitting here thinking, Meadow Bridge, bridging the gaps to success. Good job.
All right, thank you, Mr. Groom. Mr. Chris?
All right, so I just think, listening to your guys' presentation, I have one great takeaway, and that is that your engagement is off the charts. It's amazing. So kudos to you guys. Engagement, that's wonderful. And it got me thinking while you were going through your presentation and talking about all of your different engagement events. I thought to myself, I wonder what an engagement event would look like as far as achievement. And then Ms. White then shared with us, the very next slide was her s'mores newsletter and her Schoology page. So kudos to you guys on engagement. I think, back to Ms. Whitlock bringing up the younger kids working with the older kids. I can think back to when I was in elementary school, looking up to the high school students. That's world class right there. That's great, and I think that is the spirit of Fayette County schools. So that is a wonderful idea that you guys are putting in place there. And then I also liked the what is bullying. I thought that was a great point to bring up, because that is a misconception a lot of times. Is it bullying or is it not bullying? And anytime that we can educate not only our students but maybe even the public or parents on issues like that, I think we're making a lot of headway. So kudos to Meadow Bridge. I appreciated the information. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chris. Coach?
You know, I can't add much more than what my colleagues have said, except one thing that I would really like, I'm hearing here, is your family. You've done a lot of things to bring the teachers together, which is very important. You got to work as a team, and the pre-K through 12, you know, you're working hard to make sure that it's good transition all the way through. But your parental part, getting your parents to buy into what you're doing, and getting them involved, and making sure they understand, you're transparent, they know where you are, what you're doing, and it appears that you're really open to them. So, like my colleagues have said, it was great to hear the direction you're going, and very impressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach. Yeah, great presentation. Thank you to the whole LSIC. You guys have been wonderful to share what you have this evening. A couple of things I pulled out, like Mr. Christ, the what is the bullying flow chart, I think that was great. So my question is that unique to you guys? Did you pull that from somewhere? Have we shared it with other schools?
It was a resource. Was it from Teachers Pay Teachers?
I think so, yeah.
From Teachers Pay Teachers, just a resource from that, which we can go and change to fit some of our specific examples that are familiar to students and familiar to parents. Just like a real quick story. It's going to be a very quick story. So anyway, we had a situation, and this parent, maybe I better not share it. I'm not going to share it.
Okay.
But anyway, so what I want to say with that is that I'm just very proud of our students. When we talk about Wildcat Pride, our students really stepped up. We were facing some social media negativity, and our students became very frustrated with that, and they stepped up and started speaking up for their school. And
That's
so
great.
we were all very proud of it, and they did it in a very mature and polite way. And so we were very proud of our students for doing that. And that was the result of what we thought a bullying situation was. So back to the resource, yes, it can be changed just a little bit to fit our area and what's going on here, but it's on our own resource, and then we have not shared it with anyone else.
Wait, you made a comment that, and Ms. Kincaid-Klein and Mr. Hogue have heard me say this for years now, that these LSIC meetings give us the chance to see great ideas being implemented in the schools. And we should shamelessly steal those and share them across the county, realistically. And I could see that could be posted on our county website. My grandson, 4th grade, comes to me the other day. Dad said, Papa, this boy bullied me at school. And I'm like, okay, when you say bully, what does that mean? Because I'm not sure that the kids know the difference, right? So these resources are fantastic to push out, Mr. Hogue and Ms. Kincaid-Klein. So again, as we do these LSICs, it's wonderful to hear these ideas and creates work for these two for us. So, also a positive, again, I heard Ms. Whitlock and Mr. Groom talk about the cross-curriculum work you're doing, but also I picked up, you said you're working in verticals too, right? So being now under one roof, right, you guys are getting there anyway, it gives you that chance to work in verticals and cross-curriculum, which I think is great, and I'm anxious to see how that manifests itself.
I feel that it's an advantage that we have now.
So I think you're going to do a lot with it. I really do. Ecstatic about your attendance. That's something that we are, as a county, we have an opportunity with, so thank you for the work you're doing on that. Now, I had a question. So you do a weekly SMORE newsletter. Is that different than the SMORE, the attendance SMORE that Ms. Hendricks sends out? So it is different than that. Okay.
Yes, and our specialist does a it.
Okay.
And she sends it to teachers pre-K through 12.
Okay, so is it kind of like, I've heard some schools say the peak of the week. Is it similar
Yes.
to the peak of the week? Okay, very good. So, but your attendance is just fabulous. Keep up that work. I know it's tough work, right? It's a different culture, and we've got people that perceive attendance differently, and we've got to help educate them, right? So, but great work with that. And we'll work with Mr. Hogue and see what we can't do about your obstacle and see, what ways can we lend a hand and maybe lean into that. So, but again, great work. Thank you guys for hosting this session, bringing us in, and it's always great to be in this brand new school. So, Mr. Hogue.
I'll share a couple things. Number one, I'm extremely pleased with number one, the embracing of the iReady and the work that's being done with that, in particular in our high school setting. I think you all did a good job of starting to embrace that last year. As we got it for nothing last year, it turned out we were able to use it in that capacity. For our 3 through 8, you all embraced it and did a great job at the elementary level. And then to capture some people at the middle school level and high school level, you've done a really good job of that space, capturing, because you're the one that came to us with Miss Ryan and let us know that Miss Ryan wanted to come to Fayette County. And I teased you about that for a while. We wanted to know when we get another one of those Miller girls in Fayette County. And we were able to capture her, put her in a middle school setting, bring some of that expertise. So as Mr. Gray indicated, that vertical work that's being done with the high school and just drawing the whole group together. I think that Mr. Ray indicated the same thing. That's really, really important to me. On the attendance incentives, I can tell you that yes, it definitely is a point that's got parents paying attention. It's a change. We went through the pandemic, and it's a change. The challenges you all are facing, believe it or not, I was out a couple days last week, and I received the phone calls even up there concerning attendance incentives and people that were upset about hitting numbers and doing what they need to do. It's incentives. If you don't do the following things, you don't get the incentive. And it's to encourage those people to turn excuses in, to have a reason for missing school, not to just let somebody be out of school. We know they're not in school, they can't perform. So keep up the good work, as Mr. Gray indicated, keep up the good work with that issue. I just want to say, even the work that you're doing in the culture and climate, and I was able to share some of that peer-to-peer observation stuff with our culture and climate committee. And I kind of turned it into a little bit of a joke that day when I was with them about the fact that older sister watching younger sister to see what she can learn from younger sister. Baby, right? I told your oldest sister about that during a culture and climate meeting. I just want to know why mother isn't here tonight. I just want to make sure I ask that question. But you took her spot. She usually had to be here. But the bottom line is those things are really important. When I met with Ms. White on the 4th to give a report out to our Culture and Climate Committee, and when I was here, I met with Ms. White, and she shared with me that work, and I think that's real important to the culture and climate. People don't understand that. That's a wonderful activity, that peer-to-peer observation, to make teachers feel better about something. What did I see with somebody? I'm going to take that, I used to indicate that I stole something from another county, when I got an idea, that we're acquiring or sharing those ideas. I think Mr. Gray hit on that several times. He's reminded us, and guys, please include those in your reports too. Okay, those ideas, so we can get those shared, the reports that are coming to us. What a great idea. So I just say thank you. We do appreciate the work that's being done. Appreciate the team that's over there. What I'm watching is the intermingling of elementary with high school teachers and sharing ideas back and forth. I think that's extremely important.
Oh, and I'll just say one other thing, because I like to brag on them because they do such a great job. But at our PL Day on Friday, I've started something that's teacher shared, because like I said before, I see lots of great activities. So I had Coach Riker share out something I had observed in his classroom, And it was great, teachers loved it, now I have to come up with the money to purchase it. I was like, gosh, why'd I do that? But no, it's great, so I'm going to make that happen. And then with Miss Ryan, and I've told the high school teachers, but you can tell them, it's just like anything, you can stand and you can tell people something, but until they see it, it really makes a difference. So, the elementary teachers, they have intervention down. They know how to provide intervention to students. High school teachers are weaker in that area, so for the teacher share out also, I have been in Miss Ryan's room, and she had done a great job, and so she's gone from 5th grade to now she does 7th through 12, and so I also had her share out how she does intervention and how I saw it work in an upper level class, and so that was, I wanted to mention that too, because she did an excellent job on that as well, so.
Maybe something else, just so the board is aware, the big challenge you brought up was Raynell Medical Center.
Yes, it is.
And I think that was a challenge, and I think the board heard that very clearly. And Stacy and I have talked about this, we've had 2 or 3 conversations about it. It's not been, and even more recently, and I think Ms. Klein's been involved in some of those conversations back and forth, because what we're looking at is a couple things. We're looking to see if when the school is completed, you always change enrollments, you change numbers. We don't think we have extra space, but we might have extra space. It's happened to us over in Oak Hill. You lost some, after the pandemic, we lost some numbers. At Oak Hill, we were able to go back to, New River Health and say, hey, we've got a space, and Cindy worked with us to create an opportunity. So we will do that for Raynell Medical Center, if given the opportunity. That's the top priority. We cannot fund the creation of a clinic for them, but we can sure provide space if it's available so that they can provide services, and that's a top priority for them. The other option that I did share with Stacy, if Raynell would be willing to look at, they couldn't absorb the expense of adding on to our buildings. When you talk about the construction end, I think that our board understands that end. Construction, and you're talking $1 million, $1.5 million that the medical provider would have to do to be able to add on to a building to do what we did. That's what, we've been down that road a couple times. The cost of construction is unbelievable. When you look at your building, about $30 million to do the construction. But one of the things that we did indicate that we would at least consider is what they did at Midland Trail, I think, was an acceptable setup, where they actually built a clinic there that was a stick building type clinic. But it was. I think it fits into the decor enough that it doesn't distract from that property and make it look. We kind of had to get rid of the trailer kind of instead of we're putting a new school in. But what can we do to look at that option? If they're willing to fund a project that they can reduce their costs pretty significantly if they can find a funding source, and they had done that once before, so hopefully that's another option for us to consider at that point. Will they look at that option? Because they could possibly put a clinic. Of course, they have a clinic in town here, and I think that's a little bit of a distraction that we run into where they would consider building that other issue. But just a thought, so that at least that's what you and I have talked about, Steve.
Okay. All right. All right. Again, thank you, guys. We have just a couple other items of business to take care of. But again, appreciate the report and readout and the great work you guys are doing. So thank you. All right, board members. We are moving to the 4,000 series on finance. We've got accounts payable in the amount of, almost $1.5 million to approve. Do I have a motion to accept that?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Whitlock. And who was my second?
Mr. Chris.
Mr. Chris, thank you. Any questions? All right, no questions. All in favor signify by aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving to future meetings, we've got one more to finish the month out on the 22nd at the board office at 6 p.m. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Coach Ray. Thank you, Mr. Groom. All in favor signify by aye. Any opposed? Meeting